Hello YouTube. I will not share my identity here, but hopefully just my stories and thoughts, within the possible very strict limits imposed by YouTube policies. Also, I need to make a disclaimer, I will mostly utilize this place as an archive of my reflections, so at least for now I will not put much effort in editing and adding whatever flashy brainrot to keep you glued to the screen, just raw lines of thought. I've been a spectator of the wild internet for a long time. I've been here long before a lot of concepts became mainstreams. If you ever asked yourself where does all internet memes and culture originates from, well, the answer is most probably from 4chan and incel communities. I've surfed forums where I read and learned informations that could break an overthinking man. I've come to the conclusion that the internet is a whole separate world, and finding self-conscious people is rare, but much more efficient than inside the hardware world, as you can filter out most of the bullshit. I was sometime in the past an active member of the Blackpill community. I've been always fascinated by the truth since a young age, and as I matured I've took distance from most of the mainstream narratives, moral, historical, and political. The duo of having a big curiosity and a lot of time can be a great combination as a knife with two opposite blades. In fact, being exposed to the rawest version of reality at a young age could interfere with a proper mental stability. During my stay in all these remote internet spaces I've came across real horror stories which I maybe bring on this channel next videos. Even if I despise many participants of the Black Pill, specifically the ones whose genes determined both unpleasant looks and questionable intelligence, I hold a special place in my heart for the growing nationalism inside. As I love depicting the Black Pill as a beacon of truth not merely in the dating space but in all realms. As I can assure you, there's much more than banging some chicks in the great scheme of things. May the change that will lead Europe to its salvation begin here. Starting from the reels with Swiss landscapes background and white girl music as the new independent young and revolutionary journals. I will in the future like to speak also on how the first generation born inside the public information's era could help shaping the world in a better way, as the understanding gap between Gen Z and all the pre-internet generations feels secular. It will become increasingly harder to brainwash and control young men. This logic leads to another topic, that is replacing the young Europeans' opinions which have always been the minds behind the cradle of civilization. With non-Europeans and women, as for their emotional nature, are much more easier to control as they tend to follow the main flow of the historical period. The very big weakness of the white European race is having a big natural tendency of helping and cooperating, in a generous and caring way. This is both the reason why our civilization was so great and the reason why it's being destroyed under our eyes. The Western white population is afflicted by these major psychological problems: savior complex, or rescuer syndrome. This is the tendency to want to save or help others at all costs, even when the other person has bad intentions. People with this tendency can attract individuals who exploit their generosity. Victim-persecutor dynamic. This refers to a pattern where a good-hearted person ends up playing the role of the unaware victim, falling into the hands of a manipulator or narcissist who takes advantage. Cognitive bias, illusion of reciprocity. Based on the unconscious expectation that generosity will be reciprocated. When that doesn't happen, the generous person ends up exploited. All these psychological leaks contributed to what is now an actual invasion of the old continent by non-European immigrants, and the same process that destroyed European politics, by infiltrating unsuitable people within the decision-making spaces. These logics should be labeled as common sense. But in a world with too much feudal noise, even the simplest words can go unheard. I like to call this process pollution of thoughts, where all the relevance is given to uselessly complex and unimportant thoughts, instead of the simple concepts which are important to cover. The analogy is that the industries which produces this pollution are brainwashed leftist and woke people, women, and controlled media. The polluting substance is LGBTQ battles, useless women battles for rights and struggles that are futile, all the moral battles as fighting racism and all these abstract struggles, which Western white European men are too soft to silence. A silence that would finally help to see the light of truth through this dense smog of unimportant thoughts. I'll cover one of these points with more specific videos in the future. Thanks for your attention. Save Europa.